Welcome to the Big Roofs Podcast, a podcast where we talk to successful roofing contractors and industry leaders about how you can build a bigger, better, more profitable roofing business. We're your hosts, John and AJ, and today's guest is Patrick Carr, owner of the Blue Collar Media Group. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Man, I appreciate y'all having me. Good to see your faces again. John, it's been too long, brother. And both of you guys, man, I appreciate having me on.
Absolutely. Good to have you.
Thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, I think last time we saw you was at the Roofing Process Conference.
That or RoofCon, one of the two that have to be late, like last year. They were all kind of messed up in the times last year, but had to be right around that time.
Yeah, I don't think, John, were you at RoofCon? I didn't go.
No, the last place I saw Patrick, well, it could have been Roof Process Conference, but I know we were in Minnesota together. No, that's true. A year ago.
So. Yeah, that is very true. But yeah, Roofing Process would be the last one then.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
Sad Dimitri's not doing it anymore. I'll tell you, he went out on a bang though. That conference was one heck of a job. Yeah, I'm hoping maybe directory, something's going to come out and he's going to do something different this coming year. But I'm hoping there's going to be something to come down the road.
It definitely seems like he's a lot more involved with Win the Storm this year. Because I know, isn't there a new owner there?
Yeah, so, they contacted him from what I understand here, and I don't want to put words in his mouth. And, Josie and that team were looking to change the reputation of what Win the Storm was. And when they looked at some people in the industry, they said, hey, let's try to gather some good minds, put them on a board, and get suggestions from them about what we could do different. It's my understanding they reached out to Dimitri and said, hey, you want to be a part of changing this thing? And I think, he jumped on board and said, yeah, let's make a difference in what they're doing over there.
Yeah, that was really cool. I was initially surprised when I saw his involvement with Win the Storm because of the past reputation. But
sure.
Yeah, I figured, he's got to fill that hole somehow in his heart for the conference space.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. So I think there's some truth to that, I should say. But they're trying to change the reputation, I think, of what Win the Storm was. And that's going to be a big, it's a big ship you got to turn. So trying to get people like Dimitri on board, who run their business in a high character way, I think it's gonna help that.
Yeah, as far as it worked on me because I saw all the content and everyone that was there and everyone involved. And so we've actually already pre-purchased our booth space for ProLine next year. So It's going to be one of the shows that we're at for ProLine, which is exciting.
I love it. I'm looking forward to it myself. So I'll be there.
Cool. We will see you there.
Absolutely.
Well, let's get in to what I'd really like to cover here at the beginning is just talk about your personal story and kind of where you came from even before roofing, or maybe I don't know, maybe you came out of the womb doing stuff in the roofing industry, but walk us through that. And what I'd really like to get to is how did you end up in roofing specifically? Or I guess you're not just exclusively roofing, you're kind of also in the contractor space to a certain extent in general, but
still 70% approximately of my business is with roofing contractors. And then you have first party claims, attorneys, PAs, things along those lines. To rewind, if you went back, I'm going to go about 5 years ago now. I'm working for a collections company for contractors. That collections company decides, you know what? A lot of the files that we're getting are depreciation checks and supplement checks from roofers. What if we found a better way to do this and we fund the claim and then we give them the RCV upon completion, we take 8% out of it and we just go chase down the money that's our money and not theirs. So basically turning insurance into cash. And I thought the idea was beautiful and we sold the heck out of it. The problem was that company didn't have the money to be able to float the claim for 3 to 6 months and they became no better than the insurance company. And I've told this before because it's not something I'm proud of. I was the face of that thing. A lot of people thought even that I was my claims care, that I owned the company at some point. And what ended up happening is as soon as I figured it out, that there were contractors coming to me and saying, you know what, we're not getting paid our RCV on time. Why are we waiting on this? I quit. I quit on a Wednesday afternoon. And I just said, I'm not going to be the face of this anymore. I had no idea what I was going to do. They hadn't paid me in 2 months. I just, I'd bought in line, hook, line, and sinker. And, but when I went around to every contractor that was working with us at that time, and I said, this is what's going on. This is why I'm quitting. I don't want to be the fall guy here. I don't want you thinking I deceived you. Two of them said, hey, why don't you do for us what you did for My Claims Care online? Build our stuff through video. Now, they didn't know I had a videographer with My Claims Care. I had never touched a video in my life. I never edited a video. I had no idea what a lens or frame rate. I had no idea, zero, how to even work it. But I said, sure, I needed money. And two of them gave me a chance. Long story short, I started with a cell phone, did everything from a cell phone for the first 6 months. I had no idea what I was doing. Finally bought a camera and moved into the media space from there, just completely based on necessity. Now we have 9 full-time guys here, W-2. Everything stays in-house with our people here in Orlando. We travel around to contractors and produce amazing content for them. All of these guys around me are 10 times more talented than I ever was. And so they really make our clients look like rock stars. So it goes from collections to funding, and then necessity, we work our way into media.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
kind of a weird way to get into video. But I went to YouTube University. It's how I learned everything. For the first year, I had nobody on my side.
Yeah.
So I would shoot the video, would shoot the whatever, and I'd go back and I'd edit it myself. And I
Yep.
just learned everything on YouTube.
Were you a Premiere guy, or what was your tool of choice?
Yeah, so DaVinci is my tool of choice. Before that, I used something called Power Director was the name of this program.
Okay.
It was kind of the only reason I started using that is because they had a really good app on your phone. And so when I started with my app on my phone, it just kind of transitioned into using their program on the desktop. But it's a crappy program. I mean, now I look back and it can't do anything that these others can do, but it worked for me at the time to be able to get me over the hump.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's it.
That is awesome. That is fascinating with the collections. I feel like there are multiple companies right now doing that same thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it makes me wonder, like, are they just in for hot water, or is it like you need a certain amount of backing from VCs or something to make that work? Like, did you have any takeaways from that? I guess you weren't the owner, so you don't know how all those
No,
things go
but I
out,
knew a lot about as far as selling it, what the pain points were for people.
Yeah.
And what I find the pain points are for roofers is that one of the biggest problems is the depreciation check and the supplement check for 2 reasons. Let's take the supplement, for instance. One, the sales rep never wants to go back out to the home. So they've sold the job, the roof is built. The sales rep doesn't want to go back out there and he'll hear complaints. And then secondary to that, the roofing contractor far underestimates the time and resources it takes when you have 20 supplement checks that are outstanding. That rep has no incentive usually to go back out there and get the supplement check because they've already been paid on the job. And so what, you're going to give them a couple percentage points on the supplement check they come in? It's not worth their time to drive an hour back out to a completed job. And so there becomes this kind of tug of war between do the right thing for the company, go get these checks, and I've already been paid. I want to move on to the next job. And I think that a lot of contractors far underestimate as they grow the amount of time and resources it takes to collect that money.
And so that was the benefit of outsourcing that.
Correct.
Is John, is Square Dash? So we had David
There you
Summerly
go.
on last week.
Correct.
They're in the same space, right?
I talked to David Sumner last Friday, and me and him were
Yeah.
talking, and I can't remember the owner, the gentleman's name, a good guy.
Matt
God, Matt's gonna kill me. Yes, it starts with an F. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I spoke with him at Dimitri's conference myself, and he's fixed a lot of the things that I saw as being an issue. And he's done some really cool things with that. Most importantly, he's created that portal where both parties can put their money into. This was a problem because what you had to do is solve the problem of the direction to pay or the AOB in some states. If you couldn't be the one that was attached to the money, how are you going to be able to do that? Now we did it through, or that company did it through giving pre-addressed envelopes to each homeowner so you could track the money and where it was going, what bank it was at, things like that. Became a very cumbersome process as you got bigger. But I like what they've done where put everything into the portal so that everybody kind of has their eye on it right there. It's a good way of doing things he's come up with over there.
Cool.
It's good. Good. No, we actually may sign up with Square Dash because we don't have an AR problem. We don't do a ton, like we're not insurance driven at Peach State, but I don't like to wait for money, and we're waiting for money right now. And I'm like, I would love, I would pay. They charge 5% to get it within 48 hours. I'm
Yeah,
like 5%. I've already, I'll pay a late fee,
I
and be
know.
like, what? I'm waiting for this money. So yeah, it's a really really good. I hope that it's long term a really really solid solution for contractors.
I told him 5% is too low. I really did feel that way. And that's what I told when David and I had the conversation. I really thought 8% was the bottom line number. But if they feel like, hey, 5% is doable for them, then I think that maybe this portal is helping them get their money maybe quicker.
Yeah.
Because here's what, if a roofer is looking at taking advantage of this, here's what I would tell them. You have to understand that the real value is in the secondary checks, not in the ACV. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
get your ACV pretty soon. Now, the advantage to them is that they're taking their percentage off of the total claim value, not just off of the depreciation and supplement. So there's a kicker for them right there. The kicker for you is that you get one check and you don't have to chase down two supplement checks on the back end. It's like, I think both parties, if you have the right percentage, can win there.
Here's the thing. So according to David, let's hope this is confirmed. So we
Go ahead.
can do the billing. So we always get our deposit anyway, even if it's in insurance work, we get a
Okay.
deposit. And so we would never pay any fees for that first check.
Ooh, okay. Now we're
And
talking.
so then the recoverable depreciation part, we're only paying 5% for that part. So, and we don't supplement. All we
Money.
do, we use SunX to do
Yeah.
all of our light supplementing. So we don't do like, we don't push. We just want to get our money quicker. And so it's a really good deal if we can work that out. I mean, it is exactly how we'd want to operate, as opposed to waiting 3, 4, 6 weeks and 6 months to get money sometimes. Yeah, it's a way better deal. And it's a really good deal, actually. The more I've worked on it, if we can get a fee and we get it within 48 hours for this, like basically 3 days after we do the roof, I don't see how we can lose there as a contractor. I don't see how they can win though. I think you're
I
right.
think the percentage is too low, bro. Especially on that, I go up to 10% on just
Yep.
the back end stuff.
Yep.
But I do believe that they made a really good move. And I talked to him about this, Matt, back at Dimitri's conference, for people who might be considering or watching your show, that I believe that they do plug in with your CRM, which I think is very smart, because you've got to be able to track the job from your standpoint if you're going to be funding it, as much as the contractor needs to be able to. Where's your money? When are you going to get paid? When is the job going to be done?
Yep.
Like, you've got to know this stuff. And
We
so if
talked
you
about
plug in
this.
as yeah,
So currently the way they have it set right now, they don't have direct integrations with all the CRMs. Like they're going to have Job, Nimbus, Job, all this stuff. They're going to have all those integrations. But currently right now, which is what I would prefer, is that we add a seat in
yeah,
ProLine
it's not a user.
and add a user, and then
Mhm.
they can actually communicate within our, because in ProLine we can see every text message, every phone call is recorded. So if Kathleen or Tisha want to know what's going on, or like a salesperson like Claire Cameron want to know, like, hey, I'd like to get paid, they just go into the Square Dash like user and they can see all that information in the activity feed. And that's better for us, because then we don't have to ask redundant questions, and there's accountability for both sides. It's a really really good system. Hopefully they'll keep it that way. I don't really want to have to go into their portal. I want them to come into ProLine's life, and so we can see everything all together. That I don't see a downside to that, because there's so much accountability. The job's getting done better. We call Tisha our collector, but she is still one person, and if there's a whole group of people who are just working this particular part of the business, then we win. I think it's a really really strong business.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I think the suggestion of plugging in as a user and then being able to, what is it called? White label or white glove, basically your service through the actual contractor, because you're a part of their team. You put the notes, you communicate through the CRM, whatever it might be, a ProLine and whatever any of the major ones like that, that you go ahead and you communicate that way, rather than having, like you say, to go off app. So I'm a fan of what they do. They've made some real changes in the past 6 months. He's gotten some additional funding now, so I think they're ready to fund a little bit more on this. So I'm happy with what they're doing. Like you though said, I hope it's something that's going to last for an extended period of time. A lot of these, as you know, I think it was Captain about a year and a half ago. Captain was, supposed to be the next best thing in funding. and, they sponsored quite a few events, and they were at the conferences, but they just couldn't get it off the ground for various reasons. I hope that's not the case here with him. Matt's a good guy. And, so of course David is. I mean, that guy is, I think his character's above reproach in my opinion, but I think he's a good dude.
Yep.
Yeah, so there you
Absolutely.
go. I digress. They were talking a little funding action. I like it.
It's good though. I like to hear that
Yeah,
part of your background. I mean, that I didn't know that about
Yeah.
you. Like that's a really, really cool backstory. We all learn lessons, and it's got you where you are today with media.
Yeah,
I do.
but I want to be open about something. Because if people were to watch this, that company really screwed some people over. And when I left there, everybody would, I got calls because they would not answer the phone. They just went dark on people. And it was the worst thing that somebody could do.
Rug pull.
I have not spoken with those individuals in 3 years now. It's almost been 3 years. It was April 2021, about to do a 3-year video for my company here. We got someone working on. It was April 2021, and some people lost a lot. They gave, their ACV checks went to this, went to the company, and if you were doing 12, 13 roofs a week and you did it for a couple of weeks, I mean, you're out a couple $100,000. And then you're sitting there thinking, well, I'm going to get all that money back you've hired, and you don't get it. It was bad. And the one thing I will say is that every single one of those individuals, every call that was made to me, I did the best I could for them. But I'm not proud of how that company ended up. I don't think anybody can be. I really wish it would have been different. I wish they would have been honest with people about the financial situation. But they weren't. In fact, I'll tell you something I never told anybody else on a public thing. I remember the straw that broke the camel's back for that company was I said, guys, enough of this. I said, I need to see the books. What do we have? And I remember they opened it up and there was $750,000 in an account. And I said, what are we doing? Like, give the money to people. What is going on here? What do you mean we have people calling us? Like, I have people calling me this is insane. They said, well, no, we need the money in there because if we're going to get funding to be able to get this thing, we need to have seed money in the account. And I thought to myself, guys, we are so far from one another, man. Like, our priorities are so different than one another right now. You're worried about that. I'm worried about how's this guy going to make payroll. You can't mess with people like that. And that was the day that I quit, and just said, not for me. But I want to be open with that because there's about a half a dozen contractors that I still keep in contact with that really got hurt by taking a risk. Although I didn't have any part of it, I still feel a sense of guilt about that. I don't know. Maybe it still weighs with me a little bit.
Thanks for sharing, man. It's show me the money. Like it's so hard. We take risk at just in life in general of like do a thing, get paid for the thing. And you think that it's that simple, but it's just not. It's sometimes you just don't. People do bad things, and I appreciate you sharing the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the worst thing is sometimes, I think my mother, definitely my grandmother say, it's not what you do, it's to cover up. It's not the mistake, it's to cover up. And that company was a perfect example of that, where they weren't funding. And then I remember it's mind numbing to think about that. I was working for the company, couldn't get an answer from anybody. I would call the home office. I couldn't get through. Surely no client could get through. And you're sitting there going, guys, stop putting your head in the ground, help people, explain, work through the problem, stop taking in stuff, start. And you want people to do that, but some people just avoid problems when things get tough. And that the leadership in that company was a great example of people that made the problem worse than it needed to be. And I think that I'd hope that maybe if I ever saw them one day and talked to them, they would go, yeah, we did. We screwed up. I'd like to think that. I'm not sure though.
Yeah.
I love that what your grandmother's was saying there. Like that's such an important thing is like the transparency. Like everyone's going to mess up at some point, and that's a terrible mess up. But it gets 10 times worse when you're not transparent and clear. And like yeah, there's consequences to being transparent and clear, but ultimately it just makes it so much worse.
Oh, yeah. So
So
much. Um,
yeah, I
but
have a lot of respect for that mindset. This is such a smaller scale from what you're talking about,
no,
but
no.
like with our investor updates for ProLine, like I am brutally honest. Like if we had a bad month, I lay it all out. And I have had people tell me that are on that list, like, hey, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't like, don't be that honest. And I'm like, if I'm not honest about the bad months, then no one's gonna believe me on the good months.
That's a good
Like,
one.
and
Yeah.
that's a much smaller scale than what you're talking about. You know, no one's getting screwed over. It's just, we had a down sales month. But I just
No, I get
think
it.
that concept and that principle is so important at any
Yeah.
scale.
And we have that around here. So if you look, I mean, over on my wall over here, um, about 2.5 years ago, I read a book. No, it's said more than that, almost 3 years ago, because it was just after I started the company. And I never thought a book would change my life. Like, give me a break. I would tell people, like, yeah, I'm going to read. All right. But Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life.
So good.
Um, and I was always, I always thought number 8 was tough. And it's like the one that spoke to me the most. And they asked Jordan Peterson, they said, what is the toughest rule for you to follow? He said, by far, rule number 8 is the toughest. And I was like, man, I'm not the only one, which is always tell the truth or at least don't lie.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought because we go through life every day and we tell lies to ourselves, to our family, to our friends, little lies. I'll be there in 15 minutes. It ain't going to be 15, but we say it because it makes the other person feel good momentarily that we're going to be there. We tell someone we're going to take care of something. We don't have any intention of doing it till tomorrow. Um, and so I think that, like, it's amazing to me when I sat down and went, man, Pat, how many lies do you tell yourself every day? Maybe you should start keeping your own promises to you, and maybe you'll have more respect for yourself. Um, and that was just that book, and that rule changed a lot for me in this business.
That's awesome. I love
Yeah.
that book. I'm
Oh,
right. That's a great recommendation.
oh my gosh.
When did you
So
read that? When it
about 2.5 years ago.
so like right kind of right after that everything went down? Yeah.
Yeah. So because I was lost. I mean, I had thought at 32 when I was working, we're kind of making that transition. 33, I'm 37 going on 38 right now. And I thought we had so many leads. That's why I think, like, Square Dash, you guys got it. I mean, if they do it right, believe me, there was no shortage of people who needed the service. It it's necessary, as John, we were just talking about. Um, and I remember thinking, like, man, what a wasted opportunity. I spent so many years and I had no purpose. I was like, what am I going to do? Do some cell phone video? I don't know how to do anything else. And I was just lost. Um, and so that book really helped me out. It gave me, if I'll be honest, it gave me about 2 weeks where I had something to do. Like, I'm going to read a chapter, and at least I had an attainable goal. It was measurable. I got it done. I felt like I'd accomplished something to make myself better. Um, but yeah, rule number 8, always tell the truth or at least don't lie. And they're in a bunch of different offices here. So I keep them up everywhere.
I
I
love
like
that.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're gonna have to do the same once we have a physical office. We're fully remote right now, but
I love it.
if Jordan Peterson here were here, he'd be crying.
Oh,
He
listen, man, I'm
reacts
crying with them
so
every time, man.
yeah.
So
He's
I
such
think
an
that,
emotional guy, which is
yeah,
great.
I think it, yeah, I've fallen into that category myself. So I can, there are times I'll be going to work. Um, I haven't told anybody this. So I've got this weird thing now. My dad died about 10 years ago, my best friend. And I've this weird thing on my way to work lately that on clear days, only clear days or clear nights, because I usually get here about 6:30 and clear, but I can tell it's clear. And every now and then I feel like I can hear his voice where I'll get something and it feels like, man, like he's talking to me and almost like I can have a conversation for only a brief moment, maybe a few sentences at max. And that's all I get. Um, and lately, that's been something that's given me probably the last year and a half to a year. Um, I don't know, a lot of reassurance in a way, because I think sometimes with what I do, and you guys know this from starting the business, you have ProLine, everything. I mean, sometimes I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I'm taking a shot at it and I'm doing the best that I can. Um, and so sometimes I maybe just want to hear maybe the voice inside my head or from some other place that says, hey, man, you got this. and or I believe in you, or something along those lines, whatever that might mean.
Good
Uh,
word, man. It's a
Yeah,
good word.
that's
We
touching.
really don't know what we're doing. Like, it's true. Like we can pretend like we do,
yes.
and we can do really, really good things. But yeah, today is one of those days for me too. I'm like
Yeah.
getting my kids to tell me like, "You're gonna make it, Dad." Like, "You're gonna make it, Dad." I'm like, "Okay, I got it."
Yeah. I think as men, I think that in general, um, I think we starve for the words of affirmation. I'm proud of you. You're doing a good job. I saw a statistic, and I've said it before, that 70% of men who played a varsity sport and above, words of affirmation is their number one love language, or number one or number two is almost like 89%, I want to say. Because
Yep.
we grow up, you want your coach and your dad to say, good job out there, good work. And then we get into the real world, and it's kind of like you shouldn't want that all of a sudden, or you come home and you start from that from a significant other. I think sometimes we can kind of lose a little bit of track of our own worth because we're looking for that external validation at times.
It's true.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's
I'm a
a
words
really
of, but
good.
anyways, I'm a words of
Yeah.
affirmation guy,
Me
and that's why
too.
I get emotional.
Me too.
I
Yeah.
yeah, same. And the thing is, I used to like when I was younger, I would look at the love language things, and
Yeah.
talking about it with girlfriends and stuff. And I'd be like, I don't need words of affirmation. That's weak sauce. I don't need that.
Yeah.
And then now I'm realizing like, oh, that's what I needed all along.
Oh man, just pat my head and tell me I'm pretty, okay? That's all I want you to do for
Pretty
me over
much.
here. Just tell me you're proud of me, okay? Coach Burt says that. Michael Burt, a really great speaker, maybe one of the best I've ever heard. And he was at a conference put on by Jesse Ladson of Ladson Construction about a couple years back, and I got to hear this guy speak. And he's like, I just want my wife to do one thing for me. He goes, just say I'm proud of you and what you're doing for our family. He goes, that makes it worth it for me to get up in the morning. He goes, when I hear that from my wife, I feel a sense of empowerment. And I'm like, and he feels like it's all worth it. I'm like, man, that makes sense to me.
Totally.
That resonates with me.
Oh,
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
my
yeah.
wife told me she and I have been through a lot of things, but she told me early on, she's like, I'm not good at words of affirmation. I was like, all right, noted. I understand. So now when she does it, it's so much more meaningful because she knows she's not good at it, and she knows it's exactly what I need. So yeah, it's totally true.
But don't you appreciate the effort?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
even if it's not good at it, it's like, man, I just appreciate the raw effort when
sure.
someone does something that they're not comfortable with. It speaks volumes to what her love for you or the family, just to step out of that comfort zone.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
love that.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, that doesn't have much with roofing, but there you guys go.
Yeah, no, I mean, but it's important stuff. This is the thing. That's what I like about the direction that we've taken Big Roofs is,
Yeah.
I mean, it does have roof in the name, but we feel free to stray. We talk about all kinds of things, and I think that's okay. I think that's good.
Well,
Don't have
I
to
got to
take it
know
too
about this from
seriously.
y'all. I mean, you make the big splash with ProLine. What comes next for that? I mean, you're battling big boys out there.
Mhm.
Besides manufacturers, you're right up there with distributors, though. And you're fighting the biggest players in the game. It's got to be one hell of a battle to be going at these guys every single day, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It is.
The
It is.
battle.
It
Yeah.
absolutely is.
Is it
Yeah,
Uh,
harder than you
it's.
guys thought it would be?
no,
Okay.
I knew it'd be ridiculous. I knew it would be ridiculously hard.
I think John was more realistic about it. I looked at it. So I think part of it is I looked at what the other providers have and still have, and it's like from a UI interface standpoint, it just looks so outdated and basic in many cases. Some of them have updated some stuff now. It's getting better, but it's very slow that it's being updated. And so I looked at it and I was like, I can build that. And then now getting into it, it's like it just things get harder the more parts of a business that you're helping someone run, and having that all on one platform, it gets sort of exponentially more complex, and then like it becomes harder and harder to make that simple and simple to manage. So it's just like this constant like hey, in order to solve this, we need to add this new feature or functionality or object into the system. But then now that's another thing that people have to know how that works. It makes it more complex. So I definitely underestimated the complexity and the challenge, but I don't have any doubts we are living and will continue to live up to that challenge. But I think John had a more realistic mindset going in. I almost knew a little. I knew enough about software development to be dangerous and to overestimate our abilities, but we're making up for it now. We just raised some money. We're hiring out our dev team, building out our support team. So like we're scaling up and getting the infrastructure and the teams in place to be able to play the game and play it well. So like we're not. There is some smaller players in the space that are kind of like just sort of piddling along, getting their little groups of customers. We're here to win. And so, anyone out there listening, we're not just taking our little piece of the pie. We will win. We will win. It may take us a few years to get caught up in some areas, but we will win. We're coming for you.
I'll tell you, one of my best friends in this world is a guy by the name of David Bazzelli. David started Job Progress, was the founder at Job Progress. And I got a chance. I'm going to tell the short version, but it was one of the most incredible stories I've never gotten a chance to get on my show. And I've told David I want it so bad, so I'm going to tell it because whatever, David, I'm telling now. He tells me basically this story about how he started Job Progress, and I'm going to skip ahead to the part that was just amazing to me, which not a lot of people see. They don't see this part of when you're starting the business. They see when you cash out at the end, you sell to Leap and you make your money. But I was like, how'd you start this thing? And he's like, well, long story short, I was working with a dev team development over there in India. He said, we just didn't feel like we were clicking. I got on a plane and I flew to India. And I was like, have you ever met these people? Nope. Just knew the town that they lived in. Gets there, gets on a Greyhound, 8 hours to the middle of nowhere where this dev team was. He goes to spend, I want to say now, and correct me, David, correct me if I'm wrong, 6 months in India on the dirt floor with these guys, developing the features, talking with its team back in the US, the couple people that he had over here, and really getting down to it. Those people have become so close to him now in his new thing, which is Progress Robotics. He's doing the dogs, those robotic dogs. And he's building the software for those robotic dogs to work properly and do what you want them to do, whether it be military, police, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think back to that, like, one day when you'll sell this thing or whatever you decide to do with ProLine, you make money on it, but no one's going to see probably the 2 a.m. phone calls between the two of you where, it's beating heads and you're upset or you're upset with that and this. Everyone always sees the great stuff on social media, but not that grind and that grit that goes in for the years before that happens.
Yeah. I regret that we did not document it with video.
Yeah.
We should have documented a lot more.
Because it was definitely
we've been working on this since
thousands
when,
of hours. Yeah.
2017.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lord.
I love that story though. I have newfound respect. What is the founder's name?
David Bazzelli.
David Bazzelli. I have newfound respect for him at least. I'm still gonna crush his company that's owned by somebody else. But
yeah, I would expect you to say that. I think he would too.
But I have a lot of respect for that. Is you got to make it. You have to make it happen. And I think that's the difference between the entrepreneurial mindset and the sort of and the employee mindset, which is fine for a lot of people. But at the end of the day, it's like when you're the one or one of the few people at the head of the ship, it's like either you get it done and it happens or it doesn't happen. It's binary. There is no like, oh, I'm going to give it my best shot and maybe it'll be enough. It's like either you do whatever it takes to get there or you don't. And if you don't, you fail and you don't launch the product that you're trying to launch. You won't have the product market fit. It won't solve the solution for the users that are using it. And so, yeah, I think that's the difference maker is like having that mindset of like, it doesn't, at the end of the day, the business and the realities of the business, unfortunately, do not care about how little sleep you have, do not care about how little funding you have, do not care about any of these things. Like, even when it comes to, and this is all something that has to be balanced. I'm not saying sacrifice all these things, but like even your family things, like the business doesn't know or care about that. Your customers don't know or care. So that's one thing as an entrepreneur. I don't want to go down a whole rabbit hole. Like you do have to protect yourself in that regard, because the business might not care, but those things do need to be important for you. But that's the tough thing. Sometimes you just gotta get on a plane and fly to India.
Yes, completely agree. The only thing I would tell like a roofing contractor, we go around to a lot of them. I mean, we've been with 2 so far this week. Our guys are, even if it's not me personally, we travel out to them. The ones that, in my opinion, they've mastered the ones that are successful have mastered the mundane, as I say. Everyone's really good at getting out there, or they say they are. Look, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to knock doors with my guys today. I'm going to go out there and we're going to do this as a team, and we're going to have this team meeting, and we're going to go to a ball game. Like these, one-off things that people do. But mastering the mundane, the stuff that is just boring to do every day, and you have to do it as an owner, and you got to sit there and you just got to do it, and it's just boring. And you go and you sit there and you look at yourself like, should I really be doing this in my position? Shouldn't somebody else be doing this? No, you should. It's because as an owner, you've got to get good at the boring shit. And I think that is where a lot of people screw up. I know I surely have. And only the past year have I gotten better at doing the boring stuff, because I recognize it's the boring stuff that other people are unwilling to do. The exciting stuff, the going to a conference or speaking on a stage or getting a booth and meeting everybody and drinks and fun, those things everybody can do. It's when nobody's looking and you've got to do script writing, if you're me, for 5 different companies, and you're sitting there going, okay, let me do my research. Let me figure it out. Let me go look at competition. Let me look at, all that stuff. It's the boring stuff that makes a difference.
Yep. Before this call, I just did a roof proposal. We did an inspection this morning, a couple hours ago, and I did the whole thing. It was a little bit of a complicated thing, so I wanted to like illustrate this to Clay, who's pretty new, but I also made a Loom video. I also like demonstrated it to the team. I sent it to, like, I did all these mundane things because don't have to do that. My team can do these things, but I always refer this back to Sarah Blakely, who's the founder of Spanx.
Mm-hmm.
Spanx is, she just sold it for over $1 billion, and she's well known for doing these mundane things and just tweaking it and tweaking and for years and years and years and never stopping. And, I'm sure she made a bunch of people mad, but guess what? Now she's a billionaire.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's because of those small things that I can empower Kathleen and Cameron and all these people on my team, because I keep doing these small things. And I agree, they're hard to do because they're boring. And I've done them for 10, 12 years. But like, if I can keep doing them consistently, then I will empower. It's not just about them making sales and making money and I want them to be satisfied and feel like they have purpose each day in their job. And by doing those mundane things that I do, it hopefully will help them do those things in a meaningful way.
I couldn't agree more. And they see you doing it though, John, too.
Yep.
They know you're not just telling, you can do it. You do it. You're leading by example right there. I think that speaks volumes probably to your team.
Everybody needs to do it. Every leader needs to do it.
Yeah. That's absolutely true. I couldn't agree more with that. We're about to hire a script writer and bring that person on. And, what I get a chance to do is show them what I've done. It's not like I haven't done it. Here you go. We've done this before. You can see the work that we put in. I'm not going to bark orders at you. I'm going to go, I know from experience what this should take and how long and how we do it. And that's a lot of trial and error, but you do that by doing the task. And I think a lot of owners out there think that it's above them or beneath them, I should say. I had a guy call me a few hours ago, saw my ad on Instagram, calls up the number, and I answer the phone. He goes, "You're the guy in the ad, though." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm also an admin here right now. I'm also the one who's going to send you the email." And there's still some value in that for me. Now, I don't know how much longer that stays, but there's still value in it today.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
from your perspective as Blue Collar Media Group, you're working with contractors on their video. What are those mundane things that you see that roofing contractors, like the lowest hanging fruit, things that are typically getting not done that should be done that maybe might not be the most fun?
Yeah, number one is training. Okay. When we step in, and I can't tell you, we'll do employee interviews, and before the interview will start, we'll talk to people about, oh, how long you been with the company? I've been here 3 months. Tell me a little bit about it, man. Before, I'm trying to loosen them up, get them talking before we put the camera on and we do go through everything. Yeah, it's been good. Got a lead here and there. I go out and knock doors every day, and I'm thinking, has anybody shown you? Have you gone through any training? Well, I worked for this roofing company before, and I know a little bit. The amount of formal training or just some one-on-one time that people get to be successful is so minute. And I think it's because contractors want to make money on the back of that person. Not saying that's wrong. They want to get that person selling, bringing money in the door to show they're worth something, and then I'll reinvest in you. And I think that's a very backwards way of looking at it, because you want them to do something for you and then you invest in them. And I see that a lot. And I see people that are out there just kind of pedaling along. Um, that's unfortunate. So training would be number one. I just don't think there's a lot of formalized training in the industry. Um, Even if it's buying a program like a Becca Switzer or an Adam Binsman or Chuck Toki, something needs to be there in your team to be able to train an individual if you're not going to. That's number one, I think, more than anything.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. And then people get in front of people get in front of a homeowner. They get one objection. They have no idea what to do with it. They've never played a role play in their business. Just like some normal training that you do. We do a team meeting here every week, and we do that because it's just good to get everyone together. Now, is it easy? Sure, I want to blow it off. I want to do other things. So do these guys want to do their job, but hour we're going to sit down and we're going to do this thing. It's not fun to be able to make out the itinerary and do everything we do. But I think it's necessary. So training would be number one.
Training. Can you walk us through specifically for Blue Collar Media Group? I don't think we've really covered this so far this episode. Just for those listening, do you want to go through what it is? Just cover what you guys do and what that typically looks like for contractors.
Yeah, so most contractors suck at video, and it's not because they're not good people. It's because they have a business to run. They've never stepped in front of a camera. They've never read a script before, and what you want to do with video is really you want to establish yourself as a professional choice against somebody else that's in your region. And what we attempt to do first is to learn about someone's business so that we can make them look like a rock star. The only way we're able to do that is by understanding who these guys even are. What do you do? How do you do it? What makes you different? And through that, we then go and script out videos for them. That could be maybe they're doing a car giveaway to a veteran or a roof giveaway, or perhaps we're going up there and they're going to be doing something, a commercial job with EuroShield, and we want to show their partnership there, show how they take care of a property with their equipters and their catch-alls. It can be any number of videos which we discover with them through the discovery and pre-production call. We script it all out for them, and then we send them the scripts, and usually they want some corrections. But once we get it right, we go up there and we film with them for 2 days. We then take that video back here, we edit it, and they deliver their assets to them within 4 to 6 weeks max. So maybe a great commercial. One of the big opportunities I see for contractors right now that they're not taking advantage of is on streaming services. If you like your Spectrum, or not your Spectrums, but like your Amazon Primes, your Peacocks, a lot of people buy the streaming service, but they don't buy where you still get the commercial, that 30-second commercial. I think it's a premium spot for a QR code and a 30-second spot for your company. And I don't think a lot of people are taking advantage of the targeted opportunities with streaming services right now. But long story short, yeah. So we do that. We create the video for them. We deliver it to them. And if necessary, we help them use the video. I'm not a marketing company, but I put them in touch with people that I trust if they want to do marketing, so that they can use the video content that we gave them. If maybe it's even on their website or testimonials, How can we use that content to have an ROI that they're looking for? But
Yeah.
it's really it's all about the asset for me. I'm not going to run your SEO campaign. I don't run your ads. I don't do that. I don't dabble in that world at all. I just want to give great video content to contractors across the country that they can be really, really proud of. Um, and if we can do that, we've done our job on this end. I want to stay in that lane and do that for people.
Yeah.
It's really valuable. We have definitely sold roofs because people have watched our YouTube videos.
Yeah.
They're just better quality. And they're like, oh, I trust you. I know you. I like you because you're doing this thing. You've taken the time to tell your story or to solve a problem, answer my question, whatever it is. And you have obviously paid a company to do audio and video and make it nice. Like you care about this. So it's what you provide is definitely a valuable service for all contractors.
Yeah. I appreciate that. And what we try to do is this. I try to tell the guys this. You don't got to tell me what flashing is. All right. I know what an ACV policy is. Like when you go out there, people say, why are you so expensive, Pat? Well, first of all, I think the biggest reason is because I'm not going to hide. If I don't screw people over because I know where you're going to find me. I'm online everywhere. Um, and I always look at that and go hire a videographer for half the cost of what we are. And good luck when it doesn't work out like you want it to. They got no reason to make sure that everything's perfect for you in the end. We do. This is our lifeblood. It's our industry. It's everything to me. So we will do whatever it takes to make it right for people with the content that we create. Because there's no other way to do it. If we want to keep a good name and a positive reputation in this industry and any trade.
Yep.
Same with roofs. You just overcome the objection of same with roofs. We care about our reputation. You can go hire somebody cheaper, but they have no incentive to care about doing your roof correctly. They got a taillight warranty.
Yep.
The taillight warranty.
Yeah, and I think that people they genuinely once they figured out, they're like, okay, there is something different here. These guys understand the game of contracting. They know what we're trying to accomplish. You can go hire a guy straight out of college and give him a camera, and you show up and you go, well, what should I say? And he looks at you and goes, I don't know. I'll film it though. This looks pretty good. When we show up to a place, it's front of build, tear off is happening behind the individual, waist up shot. We're going to do this. This is what you're going to say. Transition to B-roll, music drops right here. I mean, the whole thing is scripted for people because they have a business to run. They need to do it efficiently. They can't be standing outside going, okay, what are we doing now? What's next? We got to move. We got to, as we say around here, I use the word urgency far too much, but we got to move with urgency and move with intent. Our clients should expect that.
Yep. That is so valuable. I think the specifically the scripts that you're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, we've just pushed for ProLine and for Peach State so much video content in the last 3-4 months now.
Oh, you guys have
and we're just going crazy with it. And what we have found is it's just a lot easier. And we're getting better. This is sort of a recent development, but we're trying to get better at doing some scripting and doing some, because it's so much easier to do the video if you have something to start with. Like going straight to video is, we've realized, a little challenging, unless it's a format like this, like a conversation. But if you're trying to do intentional video content, just doing it off the dome is really hard. Especially unless, like, some people can, but like unless like that's something that you do, something that you do, it's really challenging but that script makes it so much easier. If you can, at least, you don't have to follow word for word, but if you at least like know, oh, this is what I'm covering, that's
100% agree.
huge.
And not a lot of people realize that the people that you probably look up to the most, of say a lot of like contractors or whatever show that you follow or whatever it is on YouTube, they script it out. They have script writers that do this. And that's their profession, to make this thing catchy, to make them sound like rock stars, to make them sound smooth. The words, they're precise with their language, because they have people that are scripting that out for them. I don't think anybody should get it twisted that their favorite podcast doesn't have scripts before they arrive. Like, this stuff is definitely planned out at the highest level. It's not improv, as many people are going to think that it is. Even though it looks that way, It's far from it.
Yeah. It's like a good script looks not scripted.
Right. Very good point. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes people get a little down on themselves because they see, I don't know, they see some podcast with the Paul brothers and they're like, well, I'm smarter than these guys. Look, I mean, how can they do all this and just talk to somebody for an hour and I can't? Well, you don't see the breaks in between. You don't see all the stuff they do. You don't see all, the scripting. You don't see them holding up cards behind the cameras to remind them of what to say. Like you've got to like really dive into it a little bit more before you start comparing yourself to some of these other individuals on social media.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. We actually,
Absolutely.
one of our hires that we're making this month is a full-time, he's not just doing script writing, but he's a full-time copywriter. And one of
Heck
his
yeah.
responsibilities will be partially scripts. And like we've gotten some pushback on that from some of our advisors and investors because we're still pretty small. And it's like, you really want a full-time person at this stage just doing writing? And I'm like, there's so much writing to do. There's blog posts, website copy, script writing, documentation. It's like, honestly, we might have to hire a second guy because there's just so much writing to do.
100%
And,
agree.
and, and people are like, oh, you can just use AI. No,
No, not yet.
yeah,
Not there yet. Not to say he
not
can't
there.
help you give you ideas. There's a wonderful things there, but it's not going to do it for you yet.
Yep.
It's still
Yep.
going to take hard work. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Um,
it's a tool for the process, but it can't create it from scratch and it can't finish it. It can help in the middle, but you
yes,
got to feed the ideas into it and then you got to rewrite it at the end. That's at least what
absolutely.
we've seen so far.
Couldn't agree more.
What are you looking forward to in the coming week?
I think right now for the coming week for us, we have two people that have recently started with our team. And for me, it's exciting when I get a chance to get them out in the field. So we're going to be working with Coastal Claims, a PA firm over in New Smyrna Beach. I get a chance to get both them out in the field to work with Coastal, and that's going to be a lot of fun to see them, whether it be struggle, sink, swim, see what happens. So I always love these moments.
Love it. Love it. John?
Absolutely.
Well, it's spring break for some. I live on Tybee Island, so it's spring break everywhere all the time. But Cameron's his family's coming to stay with us this week, and it's going to be fun, but we're also going to be doing a lot of work together. So we're going to get to Clay, Cameron, myself, and then we have a videographer coming from SMA to film us. We're going to have like so many videographers on Thursday and Friday. It's going to be a lot of filming and a lot of good content that we're going to, push out this year.
Love it, man.
Good stuff. We're launching actually in about an hour. I'm doing the launch call for our EagleView integration and multi-structure quoting. Huge overhaul to our quoting system and measurement system. So super excited to launch that this week and make refinements based on feedback. So, well, we will wrap it up there. Thank you so much, Patrick. It's been really great. And we will see everybody next week.
Miss chatting with you both, man. It's good seeing you guys. Okay.
Absolutely.
man.
Same.
Definitely, guys.
Bye.